This is a Southwest avocado salad that Mom and I got from our local Wendy's. Here in our town, so we would have something to eat for later. And we made this stop right before we got back home. From visiting Grandma on Mom's side of the family. Today in Whitesville. When I got up for today, I think it was a handful of minutes or so before 10 in the morning. And within half an hour, we hit the road and started driving to Whitesville to visit Grandma. We got there around noon. And part of why it took us so long to get there was because at one point, we were slowed down by a biggish truck that moved somewhat slowly. Which I believe resulted in us going either at the speed limit or a little bit below it. I spent the first hour at Grandma's house working on the B female Mucha Libre wrestler polystyrene drawing. Brought that one instead of the Aaron Rodgers drawing, because the Aaron Rodgers drawing is too precious for me to risk damaging by bringing it on a family road trip. That and at home it's easier for me to switch between the 5 tabs I currently have open of different Microsoft Bing image searches representing 5 different images of Aaron Rodgers. Those are the ones I intend to use to help me to complete the Aaron Rodgers polystyrene drawing. It's not as easy to switch between tabs on mobile. Even if it were, the internet in towns like in rural towns like Whitesville tends to range from barely fast enough to be able to watch YouTube videos in 360p definition to non-existent. When we first started going back home around 6:50 p.m., at the start of the trip, there were points in which I had no internet service on my phone because those areas were so remote. In small towns like Whitesville tend to have no capacity for high-speed internet, no infrastructure for it. Which helps to make me more thankful for how the internet is here in the town Mom and I normally live in, where it's fast enough to watch YouTube videos in 1080p, or what's currently considered high definition. That kind of definition without having to really worry about the video buffering. After that hour or so in which I worked on that bee wrestler polystreet drawing, Mom and Grandma placed a food order to the Whitesville grocery store. I think Grandma got a grilled cheese sandwich, while Mom got a grilled chicken salad that she ended up eating some of, and then she accidentally left it at Grandma's place, so it ended up being thrown away. I, in particular, got what I got last time, which was a taco salad, because it seemed like the right choice to get a salad from that grocery store place that also has plenty of fat in it. Though by that point I had forgotten that their taco salad comes with tortilla chips, which I don't think is terrible for a keto diet, since if I recall correctly, tortilla chips are made from corn. But I prefer to err on the side of caution. At one point while the order was being placed, I wanted to see if I wanted Mom to check and see if there was an option to include eggs. Since I like eggs, turns out I could get 2 eggs on the side. 2 eggs, but they ended up being on the side. Maybe due to concerns about what would happen if the hot eggs were put on top of the taco salad. How it would interact. And that's how it ended up going anyway. And when it took about 15 minutes for them to make our order. And then we drove, Mom and I, in her car to that grocery store / convenience store. It's called the Whitesville Grocery Store, but its size makes it more like a convenience store. On the way there, Mom and I made a quick stop. I went in by myself to pick up Grandma's mail. We put it in the back of the car. Went to the grocery store. Had Mom get me I believe it was about a pint of whole milk by Byron Dairy. The bottle was similar to one of those intense milks that I remember from high school. In fact, there were some chocolate intense milks next to that. But I don't really do chocolate milk anymore. We then went back to Grandma's house, gave her mail from that Whitesville post office. We ended up eating between around 1:45 p.m. and 2 p.m. This was a time in which we made small talk, including me telling the stories about me not having the best of luck when it comes to unfranchised pizza places. Although the details of those stories are best saved for their own video. And then around 3:15 p.m., we made about a 20-minute drive from Whitesville to Dansville in order to go to the calling hours for if I recall correctly, a family member of one of Mom's childhood friends from Whitesville. Prior to that, I showed Grandma the new polystyrene drawings I had completed. Since the last time we visited her, though I didn't show people my polystyrene drawings or take pictures at the funeral home, since I felt doing those things wouldn't be very polite or respectful. I took pictures at previous such funeral events, but in those cases, I was part of the family. In this case, I was more of just a friend. And after a period in which I briefly explored the funeral homes that I believe any guests could explore, after I signed in, of course, I introduced myself and shook the hand to every single person that was there at that time. We were there from roughly 3:30 p.m. to maybe 3:50 p.m. at the latest, and the calling hours ended today. We're going to end at 4 p.m., so there weren't that many people during the time we were around. Somewhere between 1 and 2 dozen at most. Each of us took home an obituary for the person who died. His name was Rodney. And I at one point went up to the open casket and touched one of the sleeves with one of my hands. I'm not sure if that was the right protocol, but it's what I felt like doing, since there's no harm, at least physically, in touching an embalmed corpse. I mean, an embalmed body. Sorry. There were some nice donations of flower arrangements by people who knew the family Rodney belonged to. I believe he went by Robert, if I recall correctly. And according to the obituary, he liked to hunt and fish. After we left the calling hours, this whole time, the calling hours took place in Dansville, so we made a stop at Texas Hots. I went in by myself, and with money Mom gave me, I got 3 jars of the Texas hot sauce and only 5 Texas Hots. We have no intention of eating any Texas Hots. They're not keto friendly due to the buns. We just want to give the 5 to Dad, since we know he likes them. On my way into the Texas Hots, I held the door open for an older man using a walker to get around, who was in the Marine Corps for 26 years, if I recall correctly, being deployed 3 times in Iraq and 2 times in Afghanistan. I think I was given some $60 to $80 to pay for what I got. It only ended up being $39 something. I recall using a 50 or so, if I'm recalling correctly. All I know is that it ended up being significantly cheaper than Mom expected, but it's always better to have too much money than too little money. On my way out, I held the door for an even older man who used a cane to get around. If I recall, it was black, the cane. Both of these men were Caucasian. And when we got back to Grandma's place, we were there from roughly 4 to about 5:30 p.m., during which I mostly browsed the internet on my phone, looking at pictures of Boss Foza from Kid Cosmic, both wiki images of screenshots from the official show and drawings people did of them. I have a feeling that Boss Foza is a conjoined twin character from that show. I think for conjoined twins, you're supposed to refer to it as them, since it's technically two people sharing one body. I mean, I looked up those images because they considered making a polystyrene drawing out of that character. Same for why before that point, but still around that same period from 4 to 5:30 p.m., looked at female snake furry drawings and a realistic diagram of the parts of a snake's mouth. I'm considering drawing a snake anthro female with an open mouth as part of a future polystyrene drawing. It just depends if I can put in a lot of effort in order to work on the backlog of commissions and requests. The first time we went to the Whitesville grocery shop, I actually encountered the female staff member of the Independence Historical Society who sent me a handwritten card with a photo in it as a thank you for the IHS sunset drawing I made for them for their first request. I said thanks for the letter. And I told them that if there were any more requests, if they had any more requests, just let me know. I'm happy to do it. Though she responded with, "Careful what you wish for." And I responded with basically what I just said. I'm happy to do it. There are moments where I don't feel like the drawing is going the way I had planned, but when I push through those feelings, as I near completion, get closer to it, I end up feeling pretty good. I'm making things from scratch. And that people from future generations will enjoy. Something about that feels pretty good. Though we actually went in the Whitesville grocery store a second time around 5:45 p.m. to 6 p.m. As right prior to that point, Mom and Grandma were looking at their photo albums. That's what they were doing during the 4 to 5:30 p.m. period. While I was on my phone, not wanting to work on that B Mucha Libre wrestler because they didn't know when exactly we would leave. And I was afraid that if I worked on the polystring drawing too close to us leaving and me having to put the drawing back into the plastic bag that I used to carry it into Grandma's house, which also had in it the markers from the satchel that I used to start the Aaron Rodgers polystring drawing project. Because I think that's all the Sharpie markers I'm going to need for that project. And I don't want to look through the satchel again to find those exact colors. Anyway, we went to the Whitesville grocery store a second time because Grandma ordered some food. If I recall, she at least got a muffin and a cookie. And that might be it, but there could also be some more stuff. When we went to the store to pick up that order, I asked if I could have another thing, and basically another quart bottle of plain Byron Dairy milk, whole milk, and Mom gave me money for it. She also got one of those goofy magnets they were selling. Although I think the particular magnet she got was relatively serious. I don't remember what it said exactly off the top of my head. But she got that magnet to go with it. Also, I believe after I finished that taco salad at Grandma's place, right before we went for the calling hours, Mom finished her Coca-Cola and then gave me that bottle to use as a makeshift water bottle to drink water from it. Since that's a good thing to do too. After we picked up Grandma's order from the Whitesville grocery store, it was more of that 4 to 5:30 p.m. period until about 6:45 p.m., which is when we left. Although, right before we did so, Mom opened up a photo album containing pictures of a deceased family member, and that made both her and Grandma cry a bit. But it's just an expression of how much they loved that family member. And they stopped crying. They got better as Mom drove us, in this case me and her, home from Whitesville and back to our town, which is part of a larger city area. Only our town is a suburb area. We started driving home around 6:45 p.m. and we ended up getting home around 9 p.m. So we both got to watch the sunset as we drove back home. When on our way to Grandma's place, at one point Mom made a comment about how vibrant and beautiful the morning sky seemed to be. It seemed to be pretty beautiful to me, though maybe that's just because I liked all of the various clouds there were. And maybe it had something to do with that. At one point, Mom had me take a picture of that skyline, that sky. Then at another point, sometime after, with not that much time passing, she had me take a picture of what's known as the living sign in Canisteo, which represents a whole bunch of trees planted in such a way that they spell out Canisteo, the name of the town. It seemed pretty interesting to me. She had me take a picture of it again because she didn't know where that picture I took of the living sign during an earlier such road trip was, whether that be on her current phone or on one of her laptops that are now dead. It was no problem to me. During that hour in which I worked on the bee wrestler, Grandma played old-timey music. I'm thinking it's music from the 1960s to 1980s. So maybe old to me, but and not like super old. I think the genres for this music range from country to blues music. Either way, this music was played from some kind of stereo, but it didn't really bother me, as what I was working on was relatively simple. Just relatively simple for me, adding in some details to the wrestler's mask based off a 3D animation I found of a bee off of YouTube, which was the best I could do in finding a close-up of an actual bee. And then once I was done with that, I hadn't finished the whole mask, just some details I wanted to do. I did some curved and straight lines, or at least started to work on that, in order to represent the wrestler's clothes, lowered down from the mask. The stressful thing with lines, straight lines, is that it takes a lot of concentration to ensure that you make the straight lines as straight as possible, but it's worth it for the results.